Hi, my name is Madison Honeycutt, and I am the University Secular Society PR Director. My family is from here originally, so I grew up pretty much here in the Bible Belt. So my family is Christian, and that is how they raised me. Christian, Southern Baptist, that type of stuff. And I guess for the most part, it didn't seem like anything. I was like, all right, time to go to Bible study or time to go to Sunday school. It didn't really matter to me much then. Then when I was about 12, I got baptized with the church, and I still didn't. It was what everyone else was doing, so I didn't recognize it as, oh, this is how I need to believe, or this is what I need to believe. It was just, this is what we're doing, this is what I need to be doing. And then a little later on, I guess when I got to early high school, I started hearing more about other people's religious beliefs, how other cultures elaborated on it, how other people even from here like divulged in other religions and other cultures with that type of mindset. And it kind of sparked that long feeling that I didn't really know what I believed, let alone in Christianity itself. So I decided to take a step away from the church for a while, kind of go on a journey to figure out where it is I belonged and what it is I believed. And I did divulge in a bunch of different cultures and other religions, just mostly learning about them because they intrigued me to such a degree. And I ultimately started looking into my family's ancestry on my mother's side and found out that we're mostly originally from Ireland and Scotland. And I looked into what they were like back then, what they believed, that type of stuff, along with other things from my ancestors. And one of those things was Celtic paganism and paganism of general up there, because most of them up there at that time, or even still now, believe some form of paganism or another. And that's how they worship or believe in religion. And it got me to spark interest and start to research and look into it more, and it just sparked something in me. When I was transitioning from 8th grade to 9th grade, I realized that I was gay. That's when I started going through that realization sort of part of my life. And it's like a blindfold was lifted pretty much. Like as soon as you start realizing one thing, you start seeing things about it in other parts of your life. And for that, it was kids at school, adults at church, that type of stuff, or just people on the street. You'd start hearing things and it'd be like, oh, in the name of Christianity, like, none of this is allowed, none of this is okay. And even then I understood it wasn't everyone, but I started seeing it more and more in the church that I attended with people adults that I'd grown up with that were friends of my parents. So at that point, it was just being uncomfortable with that setting. So I needed to step back from that just because I didn't feel safe there. I guess what I could say is paganism, as other religions, is handed down in a lot of forms of texts or stories and that type of stuff. And many forms of paganism have ancient myths or stories that they use as legends or teachings for their religion. And many of those would be like stories of people who were different, that society was like, oh, they're misformed, or they stand out. And the way the stories would always go is they would become either this powerful form that people would look up to as a sign of difference, or they would recognize them as a member of society that they would pretty much learn to copy, because even though they thought they were different, they ended up seeing that they were special in some sort of way. And I admired that type of story. And when I started getting more connected to paganism, I started looking around here and around high school and college to see if anyone else knew anything about paganism or participated in that kind of religion. And I found people at my high school who actually did study and like worship with other paganisms. And we started talking and becoming closer friends and that type of stuff, and doing worship together. And it was really nice to have a community like that. Most of my worships are to either deities of nature or someone who protects the home or relationships. That is what I particularly worship to. So whether that be a worship to a deity of nature, I'd normally do it outside, just find a spot to sit down, usually light candles or incense, give an offering, whether that be flowers or rocks or a plant. Pretty much just saying, thank you for giving this. You gave this piece of life energy, I return it to you as thanks. And then if it's something like the home, I would have my little shrine in my room or my home, and it'd just be like, hey, I respect you and I ask that you protect this home and the people around me throughout their day. My parents are aware. They do know what I believe and what I choose to believe. At the same time, they make an effort to understand and listen to my beliefs, but at the same time, they don't choose to believe the same thing, and ultimately that's a respect that I can have because I respect all other people who have that. Religion is something not necessarily bound to us, but something we choose to go about to make meaning of some of what we have in this life. I do usually feel out a situation and the people I'm around if I do delude this information. Often or not, if it's someone from, I'll use the example of Christian background, like some of the adults that I used to go to church with, or if they would have heard about it, they would have been like, oh, devil worship. That's always some of their first thoughts, and that's not what it is at all. It's a lack of understanding, and I don't blame them for it because I didn't know anything about it before looking at it either. And that's when I take the time to be like, no, that's not what it is. Here, let me explain, or here, listen to what it is, because I want you to know. I want to make this connection with you because it's something about me and it's something you don't understand about me. So this is the perfect time to have a conversation. The fact of it is, if you look at history, not just religious, but in general, especially through other religions, you see that a bunch of them either descended from paganism or brought influence from it. Paganism was either turned evil or adapted with Christianity and Catholicism. A good few of the saints or bishops from Catholicism were actually originally from pagan stories, that they were just like, oh, especially when Catholics went to other parts of Europe to like take land and that type of stuff, they would listen to their stories of what they believed, and sometimes they'd find a deity that they were like, oh, these people truly respect it, we can't necessarily take it from them, let's readapt it into something that we can say we came up with. And Christianity, even Christmas was originally a pagan holiday from Yule, like that's where it originally comes from. And I think because of the way history has painted it, people forget that or don't even know that that's what it is. A lot of the afterlife constructs, specifically in paganism, is that there is a place after this life, whether that be Norse or Welsh paganism or Celtic. They all have different stories or definitions of it, kind of like other religions being faced towards each other. But a lot of what Celtic paganism is that when we're born, we come from a place of energy, and we are given this energy when we enter our physical bodies. And when we die, we have to return that energy to the earth that we came from. And a lot is to say that this energy, after we've been through our life, becomes a part of our soul, which is what other, especially Christianity, goes into, is that our soul leaves our body and goes on to somewhere else. And this can be the case in many different stories of paganism, that there's, especially Norse, there's Valhalla, like the afterlife of warriors. You have a place that's dedicated for souls that created huge impacts on our world. And then for Celtic paganism, it would be something like, hey, you lived your life in a way that you believed and you did it through peace and love, that type of stuff. Like, you didn't criticize others, you didn't hate others, you didn't cause wars, I guess. I guess that's a lot of like what Christianity goes into. It's like, hey, here are set things. If you do them, you'll be okay in the afterlife. But it's not one way or the other for paganism. It's, you may still go to certain afterlives or to a certain thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad or good, or you are bad or good. I'd say that USM, especially since I'm from this area, a lot of what I thought USM was going to be was strictly Christian or Catholic organizations. And when I came to college here, I found a lot of people through my friends in class or my sorority, and I found others who did believe other things and had other religions about this. And it was nice to see that the school wasn't restricted to just one or the other or certain things, that there were other people with beliefs that you could talk about, whether that be in the open or just in certain clubs or groups, especially the University Secular Society. It wasn't something that I knew existed until you and Alex approached me, and when I found it, it very much was what I thought USM was representing with this, that there was a place for different people and different religions and beliefs and history and science to come together and actually have conversations about it, because that's ultimately what it is helping each other learn about different things. When I joined the USS or just talked about it on campus in general, I figured people may listen or may ask questions, and that'd be it. I could just spark some like exchange of knowledge or communication, maybe make a friend or something, but I wouldn't have expected to have a platform like this or a position to be able to actually voice some of this to more than like 2 or 3 people.